Salam sejahtera dan selamat datang untuk yang sharing session ni berkenaan dengan Excel. I akan guna bahasa English untuk explanations about buku tu dalam bahasa English. Okay, so if you need the book, you can get it from CADe. I think Dr. Su nanti kita boleh share dekat chat room kan, so they can download. It's actually an e-book that published by the Ministry of Higher Education, where you can download it free of charge, and you can refer to it later on. All right, I'd like to share with you what this Excel is all about. Allow me to share screen. Right. Full screen mode. Right. You can see my screen, right? Yeah.
Boleh.
Cool. All right, thank you so much. All right, I'd like to share with you, before we start, I would like to invite everyone to look at it with an open-minded, open heart, and because like this is some things that the Ministry of Higher Education wanted to move forward to, and we hope that our university will adapt to the changes with the current situations, and hopefully this will be useful for our students. Ultimately, what we want to do now is like we are all academicians, and our job is to educate our next generations, and hopefully these people who graduated later will be beneficial and contribute back to the society. And this whole thing is called Experiential Learning and Competence-Based Education Landscape, or Excel. And this is a framework that is being announced by the Minister of Higher Education early of this year. This is the framework. Now, what is Excel is all about? So it's formulated based on the Malaysian Higher Education Blueprint and extensions of future focused curriculum and MyHIE 4.0. So what it means to do is to, rather than our traditional educating the students, give them, and I'm an academician as well, so we are lecturers, and we are trying to fight against the time, and hopefully we can finish the syllabus and so on and so forth. Ultimately, what we are trying to do is like give all the information to the student. In the end, whether the students can absorb and learn everything that you give to them, that is a different story. But we notice that if the students really experience what they learned, that process of learning will go with them, will follow them forever. And that's why there's this Excel set coming into play. And there are, like Dr. Muajir mentions, there are 4 thrusts of Excel. The first one will be research-infused experiential learning, or REAL in short. And then we also have industry-driven experiential learning, IDEAL, community resilience, experiential learning, CARE, and personalized experiential learning, or POISE. So in general, I'll skip the research first because I'll explain this in detail. And then from the name, we can see that industrial-driven, this is something that really based on the industry. It can be 2U, 2I, and you even go to the industry and learn more and spend more time in the industry and so on and so forth. So one of a very good example of this industrial-driven is some things that organized by UTEM, the Malacca University. And what they did is that they collaborate with Microsoft or some IT technologies industry, where the industry really play a role in like developing all this program with the university. And that is really industrial-driven experientials. And the other programs that I can see also might be involved in the industry will be like, for example, we are looking at engineering faculty, where, ultimately that is really industrial-based. And when we come to the community resilient experiential learning, or CARE, this is really community. So we have lecturers from VET, Dr. Mukesh, who are involved in this community resilience, the CARE trust. So if you are interested on how to develop community resilience, then you can talk to Dr. Mukrish later on. So this is not the conventional Sulam. You know, we normally talk about service learning, that is the basic level, and then we come to Sulam, that is higher level. Community, the CARE involve multiple Sulam in their curriculum. So that will be a higher level of experiential learning. Then finally will be the personalized experiential learning, or POISE. This is the experiential learning where the program is being personalized. For example, someone who are interested in doing something and learning some new skill, and they can join the program, and they are not bound by our like 4 years program. It can be like 10 years program for this particular POISE. So not for everyone, not for every program, but it depends on which one that you think your program is suitable for you to apply to. But today I would like to focus on the real research-infused experiential learning. I'm going to skip all this. These are all the the skills that we expect the students to learn. Right. Real research-infused experiential learning. Knowledge is gained through experience is far superior, many times more useful than bookish knowledge. And we all, I'm sure we agree, like you learn more when you teach, and when you do, you learn even more. So this is something that the research is all about. So what is real? Now, real is trying to promote meaningful research learning experience. So rather than what our conventional program have, for example, we have 4 years program, which about 125 to 130 credit hour, and out of that 130, the students only do their final year projects towards the end, maybe the second sem of third year and first sem of fourth year, or some program they do it in the final years. So when you calculate, actually your final year project is only 10% of the whole curriculum. But you can also argue that, while the students learn in first year, second year, third year, whatever that they learn is actually built up for their final year projects. But I'm sure you agree that many of the students, after their final exam, they'll just throw away everything back to you. And when you ask them, you'll be surprised when you ask them fundamental basic questions that they learned in first year, they couldn't remember. And that is something that we notice among the students, where the exam is not for them to check whether they understand, and that knowledge that they learn doesn't carry forward year after year. But after the exam, they will just return it to the lecturers. But what we want is like throughout this year, we want the student to continuously develop inquisitive and exploratory learning mindset. Means that as they learn and they start to ask a lot of questions, and when they ask a lot of questions, then we have some activities to allow them to experience and to check and to test whether the answer of the one that they come up is correct by doing some experiments. So in the end, the students will have inquiry-based, challenge-based, and evidence-based type of learning. Of course, when we look at the research, we started with all the research started with questions. And when you have questions, then you come up with a hypothesis. Then along the way, you try to prove the hypothesis is correct by having a few objective and specific objective. And during the practical time, then they experience some challenges. And this is how they experience the challenge, and then they try to solve the problems. And then they come up with a final answers, and then that will be the evidence-based. So this is what we want the student to learn. So unlike the final year project, where during the final year project they do it, they submit the thesis, and that's it, and they don't really some of the students even just follow the postgraduate students when they do their final year project, and they don't really, think. When they have problems, they will just ask the postgraduate students how to solve this and that. And this postgraduate student wanted to, save their time and give them the solution rather than teaching them. And the same goes for us. Like we are all very busy with our schedule, and in the end, things doesn't go the way we hope the student learned. And that's the things. But when we look at the postgraduate students, like for example, master or PhD student, and we know that we give them a title or a questions, and the students come up with a hypothesis, and they come up with their protocol. We don't spoon feeding our postgraduate students, and the students have to find all the protocols, and that are really research-based learning, where the student really focus on doing research, and along the way they come up with some new knowledge that they have never learned before, and they really find the knowledge with themselves and trying to solve the problems. And that will be more than 80% of their learnings from the research. But what we are trying to propose today is something called research-infused learning, which is about 50 to 70% of the whole curriculum of their bachelor degree, rather than final year project, just one unit of that course, one course of their, the whole program that involved in final year projects. We want this research to be continuous from the very first year. So ultimately, the whole curriculum, 50 to 70% will be involved in the research. But don't worry, it is all about how it's being delivered rather than we changing the curriculum. I'm sure everyone doesn't want to touch the curriculum you have submitted. You have re-look at your, revise your curriculum and submitted to, the university, and you don't want to change anything. Well, I understand that we also just submitted ours, and we don't want to change ours as well. So that's the reason why this real is all about the delivery rather than changing the curriculum. So if you bear with me later on, you can see actually it's workable, but it just needs some commitment among the team or the staff, among the colleagues that work within the same department. So this is the whole intentions of the real. We want them to have a concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualizations, as well as active experimentations. All right, so come back to real. Why real? And apart from all the reason that I explained earlier on, that the students don't really practice or experience the research that they learn throughout their bachelor degree. Well, when we look at the total R&D personnel in the world, you can see that most of the developed country, their R&D personnel is in the business enterprise. So the blue one is business enterprise. The orange is higher educations, the green one is the government, and the yellow one is the non-profit. Of course, the non-profit will be the least among the rest. But you can see most of the developed country, they have the R&D personnel in the business enterprise, meaning that all the research is being done in the business enterprise, and they come up with things, products, or whatever that they've developed during their research, and ultimately that become some inventions by the company for generate income. And that's how the business enterprise grow, and so on and so forth. But sadly, when you look at our country, Malaysia, you can see that the total R&D in the business enterprise is so little, and we are in par with like Indonesia, Cambodia, Vietnam, where you can see that we only have 18.68% of R&D personnel in the business enterprise, but we have 74% in the higher educations. And a lot of the research that being done in the higher educations, I'm not trying to look down at, I'm also a lecturer, so, but the problem is a lot of our research fail to translate into a product, or fail to translate into something that is beneficial or help the economy of the country. So what we intend to do is to try to increase the number of students that have more research mindset, so that when they go out to work, they can help the country to develop like R&D in the business, so that we move this blue bar further down, so that we have more research personnel in the industry. Now, you might also argue that, Malaysia industry doesn't have provide R&D opportunity, job opportunity to the graduate. And then, this is our argument. Then industry also come up with the argument saying that you didn't produce enough or good enough R&D personnel for us to absorb into the business. It's all about, the chicken and eggs, problems. There must be a way that we can solve this. And the Ministry of Higher Education come up with real, and in hope that we can, we prepare our graduates so that these graduates are ready to carry out some research in the business enterprise. So this is this statistic is not some. This statistic is from the OECD, the organizations for some development and business economy and something. So this is the statistic that generated by them, and is quite relevant, and hopefully we will be able to produce students who have some future skills as listed here, spectrum of research, technology and table, multidisciplinary collaborations of collaborators, and so on and so forth, especially to prepare them for this VUCA world. And I'm sure we all experienced the pandemics, and this pandemic really changed the way we look at things. And hopefully our graduates that we produce are ready for the futures. All right, so how real model works? Real is actually a continuum of a research spectrum. So if we look at the right side here, so we have this research competency. We have 7 levels of research competency, where we have level 1 to level 7. First level is have research knowledge, practical experience in level 2, level 3, conduct research, level 4, produce research output guided, or then produce research output independence, level 6, disseminated research output, and 7, guiding others on research. And on the real spectrum, we are looking at, this is the names that we come up for each of the level. For the students who just join, we assume they are incompetent. And when they join the university at first year, so they are experienced two level. So first level is research oriented, and second level is the research immersions. So this is the first year. Then in second year, they started to conduct research. We call them the research apprentice. Then third year, they started to do research intensively, and that's why they produce research output with guided. And then level 5 produce research output, or do we call it research practitioner? They can produce a research output independently. And then level 6, the research producer, they disseminate the research output. And level 7, their research mentor. So there are level 1 to 7, which is distributed along the year. So you can see the bar is getting higher and higher. As it go higher, means that the level of research knowledge that the students gain is getting higher. So all these are becoming comply or based on the MQF 2.0 framework, Malaysian Quality Framework 2.0 version 2. So if we look at, this is something that very important for people who are working on the curriculum. You can see this is something that we are always look at it, and we start marking our program. And here Real also help us to mark all this program, MQF program outcome. This is program outcome, and from level 1 to level 7. And if we look at it, place of just join me. Level 1, students are provided with research knowledge and scientific methodology skill to progress from awareness to understanding. So the level is PO1, our traditional PO1, the understanding, knowledge and understandings. And then level 2 is focused on the development of research and inquiry skill and technique through the research practical sections and attachment with scientist research and on ongoing research projects. Students may become observer or assistant. So these are more on the connective skill. This is critical thinking and practical skill. So what we are looking at is the students started to develop some, to have practical skill. If we look at your curriculum, of course, first year, they are being taught all the fundamental of that core subject. Let's say, for example, I'm a microbiology department. We are looking at all the fundamental microbiology. And at the same time, the students started to do some practical class. And this practical class that we give to the students, they learn all these techniques and so on and so forth, but they cannot link that with the knowledge that they can be applied for the research. So in real, what we want is to connect all the dots. Okay, why do you learn this skill? Apart from learning this skill for the basic of this, how does this skill can be used to apply for, you know, all the research that you wanted to carry out later on? So that will be level 1 and level 2 practical skill. And when it comes to level 3, students are assigned to work with scientists, researchers on an ongoing research project. They will be guided to how to perform research tasks and have the opportunity to collaborate with other researchers. So in here, we are looking at more functional skill of the MQF. We are looking at practical skill, interpersonal skill, how they interact with each other, and then digital skill, how to collect data or get the information from internet and you know, or all the journals and collect the data, and numeracy skill, of course, to analyze the data that they collected. And these are some of the functional skills that we wanted the students to gain during the level of level 3. So first year will be learning the basic and learning the practical skill. And second year, they started to have the opportunity to attach to the scientist or researcher. Bear in mind, this is not something like, you know, the student have to do research in the second year. Of course, they might not be able to do so, but what they can do is to, what we can see is like how we can let the student to see how research is being carried out. And in the meantime, rather than just doing the practical, they can have the opportunity to look at how research is being done. Then they started to connect the dot. Then in third year, level 4, the student become active participants rather than passive recipient to develop research idea and contribute to productions of knowledge under close guidance by experienced researcher and scientists. Now, the keyword here is close guidance. And when we say close guidance, meaning that more than 70% or 70% of whatever that the students wanted to do will be actually come from the supervisor or the lecturers. So in here, the students started to develop their critical skill. You know, they sometimes we throw questions to the students. Students have to use the knowledge that they learn, they apply it. That will be the cognitive skill, the critical thinking, and then they use the knowledge that they learned previously and practice it, and practical skill. Numeracy skill to analyze the data statistically. Of course, from now onward, we wanted the students who do research to have ethic and professionalism. And this is very important because we can see there are so many cases of unethical research or unethical publications and so on. So we want the students to start to develop ethics, and actually we want the ethics to be very beginning. But when it comes to active participant of research, we want them to start to have that throughout the rest of the level. And when it comes to level 5, similar to level 4, but this time, level 5, we are looking at under minimum guidance. So what we are looking at is just now we have 70% of the idea come from supervisor. At level 5, now the level of the guidance from the supervisor should be minimum, and more than 70% of the idea should come from the students. Because we have trained them enough, and level 5, the students should have come up with their own idea. So they have critical skill, cognitive skill on the critical thinking, practical skill. Of course, now they are in charge of their own project. So we hope they develop the leadership, autonomy, and responsibilities, personal skill. They have in them all the important qualities, entrepreneurial skills, as well as the ethic and professionalism. And when it comes to level 6, that will be the student demonstrate capability to disseminate research output through publications and communicate the research finding and various platforms. The skills that they will develop is communication skill, digital skill, numeracy skill, leadership, personal skill, as well as ethic. Now on here, I'm sure most of us will say, well, my postgraduate student not even managed to publish paper. You don't expect the undergraduate students to be able to do so. Of course, there are some exceptional cases, but what we emphasize here on the publication is not the journal publications. It might be some, some write-up, some articles, and and this also involves in students presenting in the national level conference, where they join the conference and they present it. And there are a lot of undergraduates conference that being organized currently that the students can join. The most important point here is they can disseminate the research output. Just like the student present their final year projects during the Viva, this is now going to the next level, which is the national conference level. We allow the students to disseminate their research output. And when it comes to level 7, students become mentor to guide and coach and train the inexperienced juniors to pursue their interests. So in here, we are looking at the interpersonal skills that they develop, the communication skill, leadership, autonomy and responsibility, as well as the ethics. So basically, this is the level where the students are guiding, level 7 students are guiding level 3 students. So it must come from somewhere. So the students will start to mentor their junior to do research. So I'm sure we agree that you learn more when you teach, and this is what we hope the students to have. So what does this slide give us is that now the real spectrum has been mapped, and what we need to do in the practical way is look back at our program learning outcome, PLO, go back to your curriculum, look at your program outcome, learning outcome, and try to match at which level, what are the courses that being taught in level 1 of first year, which is level 1 and level 2 first year, what are the CLO that is matching with all this MQF. And as you go along, you will see that most of our course is matching all this. So once it's matched, then you will know that your program is actually fulfill all this, the real spectrum. The only difference is like you can see here, where our undergraduate students have never entered the or do their final project until the 3rd year. But here we wanted them to experience the research work with earlier than there should be, like maybe in first year or 2nd year, depends on the course that is offered or the program that is being offered. So when we look at it, the research competency, this is start with familiarity, then they have started to have knowledge, practical experience, they can conduct research, initiate their research, produce research output, and disseminate research, and finally guiding the others. This is the real spectrum of level 1 to level 7. The oriented, you can see first level, we hope that they have all familiar, definitely, knowledge, definitely. When they come to immersion or level 2, they started to have practical experience. Level 3, they have conduct research. Level 4, they have research, and then they produce some output with guided. Of course, they do research, they will produce their output, but this is guided. So like I say, 70% come from the supervisors. And if they are research practitioner, they are independent. 70%, more than 70% of the idea come from the student. We are just guiding them. And then research producer, they start to disseminate the research output in conference and whatever. And then research mentor to guide the others. And this is the criteria for real program is achieved whenever 50 to 70% of the program learning outcome map to the real taxonomy. As I mentioned here, 50 to 70% of your program outcome is mapped to real taxonomy, then we are fine. All right. And here is some of the remarks. This is level 5 is the minimum real level for real program. Okay, it doesn't have to go all the way to level 7 where they become the mentor, not necessarily. As long as they are level 5, it should be fine. So this is another diagram to show you from level 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, just a diagram. doesn't matter. All right, so when it comes to here, this slide, we look at the indicator. And just now we have seen different level with different knowledge. This is just repeat. And this is also repetitions of what we have in previous one. And here it's a taxonomy that is I would like to emphasize. For level 1, the student must be exposed to the knowledge and scientific skill through formal courses. Level 1, the students attend all the basic lectures. Then level 2 is research immersions. The student must be involved in the research activity. Level 3, supervisor provides student with research proposal idea title to be conducted. This is most of the case in our FYP now. Level 4 is research intensive. The student generate their own idea but closely guided with 70% efforts by themselves. Students generate their own idea by closely guided by the supervisor. 70% efforts come from the supervisor. Then level 5 is students generate their own idea but minimum guided, only 30% from the supervisors. And then level 6 must publish research finding independently, or student must exhibit research finding independently at national level. This is the one that I mentioned. It's or, it's not and. So meaning that the student can publish their research finding, or the students can exhibit their research finding independently at national level. All right, so meaning that the students can go to conference, present a poster, but they have to defend their own poster, not you who presented the poster for them. So the student have to present that poster. At level 7, guided. Level 3, junior, real junior to perform research. This is a repetition because this one is kind of small, and so this is a bigger one. Again, real program is achieved whenever 50 to 70% of the program learning outcome is mapped to the real taxonomy. So what is the real graduate attribute that we are hoping that our students get is that they will be able to perform scientific research professionally and ethically. Who are able to demonstrate analytical thinking, reasoning, numeracy skill, and scientific research, and who are able to translate idea into research activity for practical solution to local and global issue. I think that's it for real. And for my sharing, I'm inviting any questions if you have. Just make it informal so we can. I'll try to answer your questions. Thank you.
Dr. Eddie.
Yeah.
Is there any advantage untuk yang real program ni? Kalau let's say mungkin student ni kita boleh convert, dia macam convert master to PhD lah. Convert yes to master. Is it any possibility? Mungkin Dr. Su ke Dr. Eddie boleh jawab?
Okay, what I can say is like, at least you don't have to, you tak payah fikir fasa your students yang baru graduate buat master ni, you have to train them all over again. I'm sure there are a lot of cases where, you know, the final year project they conducted can be carried forward for their masters, and that shorten their time for their master as well. So that is the benefit, especially if this is the idea come from them, and you know, they are interested in that, and the student will put more effort and you know, heart into doing their research. Yeah, rather than, you know, you know, one of the answer that we get from, so, oh, my supervisor asked me to do this. You feel like killing the students when they said that during the presentations.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that as well. Thank you, Dr. Eddie. Yeah, I think the quickest ataupun the things that we can see is right masa dia orang buat FYP lah kan. So I think they will be a better researcher and less guidance from us. Dr. Eddie, I have a question on the percentage, that one, the 50 to 70% of the PLO. Can you show that slide again? I'm just trying to understand again the mapping too. So should we map our program
Right.
learning outcome?
So yeah, I mean that is one of the questions that we always ask, you know, during most of the presentations or sharing or Jarayawara. And this is the questions that always being asked. Now, especially for real, right? When we look at when you look at our whole program, that is 15 to 20% is actually Kursus University that has taken up like 18 to 25 credit hours. Then you have Kursus Teras, which is 60 to 72% a credit hour, or 50 to 60%. And this is a subject that not only it includes your own Teras, but it also includes some other courses as well, right? So I think in order for you to fully in control of this reel for your own program, it's best for you to choose subject that offered by your own department. And then you'll be in control, because like, for example, if we have a subject that offered by other departments and is compulsory for our student to take, when you want to include that and where you want to apply real in that particular course, it will be slightly difficult, because the lecturer have different students from different program to join their class. Then you were like, why do we have to follow you? You know, that kind of problem. So the best is like, for example, if we are microbiologists, it's best to choose all the subjects that under microbiology, the same code, the BM, right? For example, we are BMY, then choose all the BMY within the subject and work together within the department as a team. What are the research that you can start introduce to the students at the very beginning of their first year to throughout their study to all the way to third year? It has to be a teamwork. All right. And the person who in charge of curriculum, don't do it by yourself, you'll be dead. There's so much work. You have to have a team that work together. The best is the whole department come together.
Okay, so I think the information, can you go to the next slide after this page? Yeah, this one. So 57 to that, can you please?
50 to 70%.
Okay, yep. To map to the real taxonomy. So the taxonomy is this one, is it? The real spectrum, whether it's oriented?
This one.
Okay, this one is the
PLO.
The PLO. Yeah, these are the PLO. Real taxonomy are this spectrum, is it?
Yeah.
This spectrum, right? Like yes. So kalau nak lebih mudah, yang the next slide itulah yang the research, either research oriented.
Tapi kat sini tapi kat sini dia kan tak ada. I think for people who are working on curriculum, very emphasize on all this, right? You nak tengok dia punya CLO, PLO, and make sure that it met with this one. But Dr. Adeline and I were looking at this for our own courses, and we noticed that actually it's mapping all this. And maybe what you need to do is go back to your curriculum and look at your own courses and try to fish out all the courses that offered by your department. And in each of the course, try to look at the CLO. Adakah CLO tu pada di offer, let's say for example, your subject A, kursus A, that you offer in first year, is it definitely, I'm sure all our courses have PO1, so tak ada masalah. So in level 2, when we look at the practical skill, do we have any practical skill that is being offered in your first year? Or is there any level PO2, PO3? This is PO3, critical thinking. So is there any courses that have this? Is the courses ABC that offers during the first year, are they offering cognitive skill?
Yeah, we have all these POs, our courses, but it may not be in the research spectrum.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think what we should do is our all of our PLOs tu map to the real taxonomy itulah kan. Yeah.
I think the first thing yang kita kena make sure is that when we want it to be real, and we have to make sure that the real spectrum is mapped to MQF. Our program is mapped to the MQF program dulu. So kalau kita based on our own subject, just fish out your own kursus and try to map it first. And whichever that doesn't have but appear in the elective, and try to persuade the department to make sure that the elective become a compulsory, sort of compulsory, and so that it map with all this real. Once it's being mapped, at the end of the day, I have to be honest with all the participants here, whoever present today, KPT tak ada a very clear guideline yet. And that's why it's called rintis. So it's up to us to claim what we assume is real. But of course, when you want to claim that, you have to show proof lah. And so let's say, for example, I have kursus A or kursus B that we want it to be real, but how do we prove that is real? You don't want to change your kursus, your course outcome, learning outcome to have or students are exposed to real or research. You don't want to change that, because if you change that, then you're having problems. Then you have to go back to like academic curriculum and change all these things. You don't want. Ultimately, what it is real is actually the delivery, how it is being delivered. So what you can do is having like an assignments where the students, you do some reflections if they join or go to the research lab. Those are the research reflections as a proof that the student actually experience real or research ecosystem during their study or during that particular course. And all this, you have to keep it as a proof to show to the later on, if the KPT come up with someone to come and moderate, then you show the proof, right? This is the proof that the student really experience real. They go to the research lab, they see how the researchers are doing, and then they come up with the report. Those are the assignments. It's not necessary that you have to change your curriculum or your course. No, it's just like, how you deliver it.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe, okay, Dr. Jeff.
Yes, Eddie, thanks for the presentation. I have a question here. So the implementation of Real ataupun Excel ni is optional at this moment, kan?
Yes.
Okay, but is the implementation batch-based, which means the whole cohort ataupun a portion of students in that cohort yang boleh ambil Real?
Okay. The question is the whole cohort.
Okay, so dia tak boleh pilih-pilih lah. That means
boleh
students. Alright, so it's the whole cohort. The next question would be, okay, let's say lah, let's say this for this cohort, the department kata kita nak buat Real. But for the next cohort, can the department opt to do not Real, Unreal, Real? Kita kena mesti follow through. That means the first cohort ni dah buat Real, the next one kena buat juga.
So I cannot answer that questions because KPT belum come up with something really clear saying that, okay, you started with one cohort with Real and then the next cohort you must be Real. Mereka tak ada clear guideline on that. So that's why it's rintis. They want us to like try first. If it works, then that will be good lah.
All right. So far it's belum reality lagi lah, baru Real lah.
The coming semester will be the first cohort.
Okay, right. Thanks.
All right. Yeah. Are there anyone from social science? I can see some from faculty science, but I'm not sure. Is there anyone from social science?
Ada, I think Prof. Rumaya dia nampak. Ada ke Prof. Rumaya?
All right. Okay. Just sharing. This during the presentations, I got a question from social scientists as well, and they think Real is really for hardcore science and not for social science, but it is not really the case, because when we talk about research, not necessarily you have to go to the lab. And especially for social science, if you're looking at problems and if you wanted a student to solve it, I think a lot of social scientists, you have assignments that or the student-centered learning, that you get the student to go out and look at the problems, and you teach them how to analyze things. Those are actually part of the research. We have been doing that. It's just that we did not make it continuous. Rather than, we always have assignments for that particular kursus. After that kursus, that's it, that end. Whereas the real spectrum is actually a continuous thing where you have one topic for the student from the very first year. They carry that, and as they learn more knowledge, no more course, they use that same topic and they add on whatever that they learn into the research throughout their whole study of the 3 years until they come to their final year, and then they come up with something. All right, this is all what all research is all about, and then they can come up with their idea. That will be level 5. Right.
Fatihah, dia tanya assessment for all students.
Do we need to do assessment for the students? Like I say, the real is not like, what is research? Then you ask the student to explain what is research, but it's more on your course. But the way of the question is being formulated will be more critical thinking rather than define this, define that, but you do it like, this is the situations, a more research-based kind of critical thinking way of asking questions. And if you formulate the question in such a way, then it really reflects reals. Yeah. So nothing changed from whatever that you already done. You already did for your courses. It's just that the delivery of the assignments, and we just want it to be more connective from beginning first year all the way to third year.
Anyway, I think we should, when we do this real, we should, of course, we should assess the competency kind of outcome of this program for our students, kan? So whatever that we do, memang outcome based.
Yeah.
That we could see the results.
Yeah, especially when you look at this, the way the student answer from the exam questions. Of course, we have to make some changes lah. Don't come up with a very simple question. Come up with some more challenging questions, more real life questions, and so on, where the student requires some thinking, and that will be more reflective lah. To real. Yeah. Okay, I should check the.
Hi everyone, I'm Firdaus. I have one question here.
Yeah.
Okay. We have one course, ESC 48001. This one is previously declared as Sulam. Can we declare the same course for real? Because this Sulam is something like involving like the student have to identify what kind of problem experienced by the community, and then they are the one who suggests what kind of research work, and then from the finding they advise the community and so on. That one in their first semester of their third year, before and then like the following semester they will conduct their own final year project. So can we declare this course as real? Previously we declared them as a Sulam.
Okay, so basically I don't see any conflict with that, because I think whenever I'm sure everyone would agree, when we do research, we are trying to solve the problems that are experienced by the community actually. So when we talk about Sulam, it's actually, there's a gray area when we want to definitely define, this is Sulam, this is not research. But when you have Sulam, but you don't do research, you don't help to solve the problems, and maybe when it comes to Sulam, it's something that the technology is already there, then you can use the technology, more on technology transfer to that. But there are certain cases of problems where the technology is not there, but you require some research to add on and to solve the problems and so on and so forth. So it can be sulam, it can be real, but because we all have a final year project, that is already a real, actually. But what the real is all about is the the continuous experience of doing research from first year all the way to their final year. So that you do not have to have a particular course saying that, okay, this is real, because for real, you need to be having a 50 to 70% of the total cost, total program to be a real. So it's not one particular course, but a real program, the whole program. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation.
Sorry, I hope I answered your questions.
Yeah, that's clear.
Yeah, all right.
Dr. Eddie, can I add to that? Dr. Firdaus, sulam ni dia ada banyak approach kan. Number one ada yang direct, indirect kan. One of the approaches is the research-based sulam. Based on your explanation tadi pun, dia ada involve macam research kan. So of course, that could be one of the level in real spectrum.
Yeah. Actually, we have this discussion also. Can real match with ideal or real match with combined with sulam? But definitely yes, you can. But to make our life easy, let's stick to one first, because we have no idea if you combine both of them how you want to implement it in your particular course, unless you're developing a new program, and then that will be a different story. But if you are doing that for your existing program, let's save ourselves some trouble. Let's stick to one and do whatever that we think can help to develop the student to experience research. Then that will be good.
I think when we implement real as well, sama juga macam, we have courses where we declared as HIPS, kan? Ada a first year seminar which is done during the first year. So I think you can use you can integrate real as possible during that first year seminar tu, HIPS pertama tu kan, first year seminar. So you can introduce faculty members, introduce the labs, and then ask the students to attach to the lab, not do research yet, just to see what are the projects and how does the lab looks like and so on. So yeah, so declare, okay, this is what are the courses that is involved in HIPS, sulam, in real as well.
Yeah, I think the most important for us now, because like I say, KPT doesn't have a clear guideline of how to evaluate whether our program is real or not real. Okay, sounds wrong. Okay, real or ideal or sulam or whatever. It's good for us to start first and set the standard. So if your program become the standard of others, then in the future it will be easy. And you just continue to do whatever that you are doing. But once KPT have a clear guideline and saying that, oh, you have to make sure that you have this, then it will make things more complicated in the future.
I think how are we going to see the results is, 4 years after this.
Yeah.
First, the next semester when you implement real. So take a long time. Or I think it will be the same as in, sulam, HIPS. Dia tak ada official documentation yang perlu kita buat untuk kita punya curriculum document. Cuma mungkin perlu ada pelaporan kepada KPT, macam sulam juga every semester kita perlu laporkan what is the impact of the project, what are the sulam courses that you do, kan, apa community-nya. So I think those reports lah yang kita perlu bagi.
So tak ada format report lagi kan?
Tak ada.
Nasib baik.
Tak ada, sebab before cuti raya hari tu KPT kan hantar email minta kita senaraikan untuk kita terpilih sebenarnya untuk program real. So KPT dah senaraikan the 4 trust and dia dah pilih siap-siap dah, real universiti mana buat, CADe universiti mana buat. But to me, alhamdulillah, kita dipilih untuk inisiatif atau trust real ni lah, sebab dia, I think it's lebih mudah because we don't need to rombak our curriculum and all. So yeah, the other if you are the only program in your faculty yang jadi program intis, I think it's good to show an example for the other program as well. I'm sure that kita punya research real sebenarnya kita dah buat dalam program kita, tapi mungkin sikit-sikit kan, dan kita tak really document it and so on. So after this, if you look at the real punya objective and outcome that we will get later, I think it is very good. Macam soalan Dr. Jeff tadi kan, kalau kita nak shift pula daripada real ke unreal, I think insyaAllah tak berlaku kot kan, sebab we always want to be better kan. Mungkin kita akan improve sikit-sikit, tapi kita tak switch, sebab research is very important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions? trying to understand, trying to digest.
Mungkin daripada social science.
Social science ada satu program saja daripada Fakulti Ekologi.
Yeah.
Dr. Rumaya pun, I think Prof. Rumaya dia understand about this. Dia banyak kali dah join Excel punya briefing.
Dr. Sabri?
Still learning. And get confused every time.
No pressure. Actually.
No pressure. We're trying to, it's supposed to be a teamwork and then try to make sense of things kan. Kita buat sebenarnya, tapi nak letakkan according to the mapping and whatnot. I suppose, So nama pun pilot, I think we have to work it out.
Yes, yeah. And of course, after this, CADe will organize more programs on real ni kan. Fakulti, jabatan atau program perlu buat bengkel lah kan. How do we then plan for our courses and our curriculum to match it or to map it to the real spectrum? I think that is, we need to do that before we do it we implement it in September, October. Ni.
Kena cepat weh. Dah bulan 5 dah.
InsyaAllah we can.
Yep.
Okay, ada apa-apa lagi pertanyaan daripada para peserta? Tak ada Okay, pihak pejabat TDA Biotech ingin mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih pada Dr. Eddie, Dr. Su yang sudi berkongsi lah tentang real ni. So kepada semua yang hadir, saya ucapkan terima kasih. Semoga penerangan ini memberi manfaat lah kepada semua dan membantu untuk kita jalankan program real ni. Okey, sebelum kita tamatkan meeting ini, kita sudahi dengan tasbih kifarah dan surah Wal-As. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay. Terima kasih semua.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Everyone. Thanks Eddie, thanks Su.